All right, let's jump right in. We're about to talk about a story you probably think you know inside and out, the American Revolution. But what if I told you we're going to look at it from a totally different angle? We're going to focus on the amazing and way too often overlooked matriarchs of liberty.
Okay, so first things first. I want you to do something for me. Just picture it in your head. Let's start with that classic image, the one we all learned about in school. So, when you picture the American Revolution, what comes to mind? I'm willing to bet it's a scene packed with men, right? You've got Minutemen holding muskets, George Washington looking heroic on his horse, maybe some guys signing the Declaration of Independence. And look, that's a powerful image, for sure. But it's not the whole story. It's not even close.
And that right there, that's the key. This whole story is way bigger than just the battlefield. It kind of forces us to rethink what we even mean by the army or the war effort. See, the revolution, it wasn't just won with bullets and bayonets. Nope, it was kept alive, it was supplied, it was supported by this incredible force working, tirelessly just behind the front lines.
So let's dig into that, right? How did this whole other effort actually work? Because we're not talking about small, little helpful gestures here. No way. We are talking about fundamental, absolutely critical contributions that kept the Continental Army from just falling apart.
I mean, look at this. This is basically the logistical backbone of the whole war. When we say supplying troops, that meant women were running farms, running businesses, making sure there was food and supplies. And nursing soldiers? That was incredibly tough work, often in just awful conditions, and it literally meant the difference between life and death for so many. And supporting the cause? Wow, that could mean anything from organizing boycotts of British goods to being actual spies and messengers. This wasn't just helping out. This was the infrastructure of the entire revolution.
But it didn't stop there. The contributions went way beyond all that crucial physical work. Women were also major players in the war of ideas. They weren't just going along for the ride. They were thinkers, they were writers, and they helped shape the very ideals the revolution was fought for.
I mean, just take this famous line from Abigail Adams. Remember the ladies. Now, this was not some polite little note to her husband, John. This was a political demand. While he's off in Philadelphia building a new government, she's right there reminding him, hey, this whole fight for liberty and representation, it has to include us too. It's just an incredibly early and powerful call for political rights.
And then you've got Martha Washington. Her words here really get at this idea of a revolutionary partnership. She didn't just sit at home waiting for George to return from the war. No, she went to the war. She joined him at those miserable winter encampments. Yeah, including the famous one at Valley Forge. She was there, organizing support for the troops, living through the same brutal conditions. That's not a bystander talking. That's a declaration of active, all-in, shared sacrifice.
And last but not least, let's talk about Mercy Otis Warren. She was a brilliant writer. Her plays, her pamphlets, they were powerful arguments for independence. And this quote, "Liberty is the prize," just nails it. It shows her focus. She knew exactly what this was all about, and she was amazing at explaining it to everyone else. She wasn't just some commentator on the sidelines. She was a major intellectual architect of the revolution, using her words to shape how people thought.
So, okay, when you start to put all these pieces together, the logistics, the ideas, the personal sacrifice, you realize something pretty huge. The battlefield of the revolution wasn't just a field. It was everywhere. It was in the homes, it was on the farms, and it was absolutely in the hearts and minds of the people.
And that brings us to this. This right here is the main takeaway. It's a simple sentence, but man, is it powerful. The revolution depended on more than soldiers. The war for independence just could not have been kept going, and it certainly couldn't have been won without the total active involvement of women. They weren't just accessories to the revolution, they were its foundation.
And that really leaves us with a final big question, doesn't it? Once we acknowledge the women of the revolution, it kind of challenges us to look a little closer at all the history we think we know. It makes you wonder, whose stories are still missing from the histories we tell? It's just a powerful reminder that the real story is always bigger, always more complicated than the one we learned in a textbook.